The thick purple fog rolled across the surface of Kepler 442b as the twin suns began to set. Through this alien mist, something massive moved between the twisted metal trees. Its footsteps made no sound, but the ground shook slightly with each step. Kang Wu pressed himself against the cold rock wall of the observation post. His hands shook as he held the recording device. Through the small window, he could see the creature that had haunted his nightmares for months. The Vorthak stood, 12 feet tall. Its black skin looked like living metal. 6 arms ended in claws that could cut through steel. Its head had no eyes that humans could see, but it could smell fear from miles away. This was the thing that had wiped out entire planets. This was the monster that made grown soldiers cry just hearing its name. But today, something was different. The Vorthak stopped just 50 feet from the human research station. It lifted its massive head and sniffed the air. Then it did something Wu had never seen before. It stepped backward. The galaxy's most feared killer was backing away from a small research base with only 12 humans inside. "Are you getting this?" whispered Dr. Park Mina through his earpiece. She was watching from the main building, safe behind thick walls. "Yes," Wu replied, barely breathing. It's leaving." The Vorthak turned around and walked away. It moved quickly, like it wanted to get away from the human base as fast as possible. This was the 3rd time this month. 2 hours later, Wu sat in the meeting room with the rest of the research team. The walls were covered with maps and pictures of local wildlife. Most of the pictures showed creatures that looked harmless compared to what they had just seen. "It doesn't make sense," said Dr. Park Mina, their station commander. She was a small woman with gray hair, but her voice was strong. "Vorthak don't run away from anything. They hunt everything that moves." Li Jun, their engineer, shook his head. "Maybe it wasn't hungry." "Vorthak are always hungry," Wu said. He had studied these creatures for 3 years. "They eat constantly. A single Vorthak can consume 50 pounds of meat every day. Then why is it avoiding us?" asked Hansol, who managed their computer systems. Wu pulled up a holographic display. It showed the area around their base. Red dots marked where they had seen Vorthak over the past month. "Look at this pattern," he said. "They come close to our base, but they never enter this circle." He drew a line around their building. "It's like there's an invisible wall keeping them out." Dr. Park Mina studied the display. "What's the radius?" "About 200 meters. Far enough that they can smell us, but they won't come closer." "Smell us?" Li Jun laughed. "Do we stink that bad?" Nobody else laughed. They all knew that Vorthak used smell to hunt. Their sense of smell was 1,000 times stronger than a human's. "There's something else," Wu said. He pulled up another file. "Last week, that Kalari refugee ship crashed in Sector 7, remember?" Everyone nodded. The Kalari were a peaceful alien species. They looked like large blue lizards and were fleeing from Vorthak attacks on their homeworld. "I went to check the crash site yesterday," Wu continued. "I found Kalari body parts scattered everywhere. The Vorthak had killed them all. But here's the strange part." He showed them photos from the crash site. There were human footprints near the ship. The rescue team from mining station Beta 7 had been there first. "So?" Park Mina asked. "The human footprints were right next to Kalari blood. The Vorthak killed the aliens but completely ignored the humans who had been there hours before." The room went quiet. Everyone understood what this meant. "You're saying they can tell the difference between human and alien scent?" Hansol asked. "I'm saying they choose not to hunt humans," Wu replied. The alarm started ringing at 3 a.m. Emergency. Lights flashed red throughout the base. Everyone rushed to the main control room. "What's happening?" Park Mina demanded. "Ship crash, Sector 12, reported Choi Bin, their security officer. "Big one. Looks like a cargo freighter." The display showed a smoking wreck about 5 miles from their base. The ship had broken into 3 pieces when it hit the ground. "Any survivors?" Park Mina asked. "Reading multiple life signs," Choi Bin said. "But there's a problem. Long-range sensors show Vorthak movement heading toward the crash site." "How many Vorthak?" "At least 6. maybe more. Park Mina made a quick decision. Prep the rescue vehicle. We can't let them kill the survivors. Commander, Wu said carefully, this might be our chance to test my theory. What theory? If I'm right about Vorthak avoiding humans, we should be safe approaching the crash site. Park Mina stared at him. And if you're wrong, we'll all be dead in 10 minutes. The alternative is letting innocent people die. She thought for a moment. Fine. But we go in full armor and heavy weapons. If your theory is wrong, we fight our way out. The rescue vehicle moved slowly through the dark landscape. Its lights cut through the purple fog as they approached the crash site. Wu sat in the front passenger seat watching the scanner for Vorthak movement. There, he said, pointing at the screen. 3 heat signatures. Big ones. Vorthak? Asked Li Jun, who was driving. Has to be. They reached the crash site 15 minutes later. The freighter was a mess of twisted metal and sparking electronics. Bodies lay scattered around the wreckage. Some were human, others were different alien species. Survivors over here, called Choi Bin. He had found 3 people hiding in a piece of the ship's hull. Wu ran over to help. 2 of the survivors were human crew members. The third was a tall, thin alien with green skin, probably a Zentari trader. Thank the stars, gasped one of the humans, a woman with short black hair. We thought we were going to die out here. Are you injured? Park Mina asked. Some cuts and bruises, but we're okay, replied the other human survivor, a young man with a bandaged arm. The Zentari alien was shaking with fear. The hunters, it whispered in broken universal language. They came after the crash. They killed everyone else. They're still out there. As if summoned by these words, a low growling sound echoed through the wreckage. Everyone froze. Vorthak, Choi Bin whispered, raising his weapon. The growling got louder. Heavy footsteps approached from 3 different directions. Stay together, Park Mina ordered. Back to the vehicle slowly. They began moving toward their rescue vehicle. The human survivors stayed close to the rescue team. The Zentari alien walked between them, still shaking. That's when Wu saw it. A massive Vorthak emerged from behind a piece of wreckage. It was the largest one he had ever seen. Its claws gleamed in the light from their vehicle. It looked directly at their group. Then it did something impossible. The Vorthak's head moved back and forth like it was sniffing. Its attention focused on the Zentari alien. It took a step forward. Nobody move, Wu whispered. The Vorthak moved closer. It was now only 20 feet away. Everyone could hear its heavy breathing. But its eyes, if they could be called eyes, stayed focused on the alien, not the humans. Suddenly the Zentari panicked. It broke away from the group and ran toward the wreckage. The Vorthak moved like lightning. In 3 quick steps, it caught the fleeing alien. There was a brief scream, then silence. The rescue team stood perfectly still. The Vorthak was now only 10 feet away from them. It had alien blood on its claws. It looked right at the human survivors. Wu held his breath. This was the moment that would prove or destroy his theory. The Vorthak sniffed the air again. It looked at Li Jun, who had a bandage on his arm and was bleeding slightly. For a long moment, human and monster stared at each other. Then the Vorthak made a sound that might have been disgust. It turned around and walked away, disappearing into the purple fog. The humans stood in shocked silence for several minutes. Did that just happen? Li Jun asked finally. Wu was already pulling out his recording device, checking to make sure he had captured everything. It happened, he said, and now we need to figure out why. The galaxy's most feared predator had just chosen to spare them. But the question that would haunt Wu's dreams was simple. What made humans so different that even monsters were afraid to hunt them? 3 days after the crash site incident, Kang Wu couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the Vorthak's head turning away from the human survivors. The memory played over and over in his mind like a broken recording. He sat in the research lab at 2 a.m. staring at data files. The base was quiet except for the soft hum of computers and air recyclers. Everyone else was asleep, but Wu's mind was racing with questions. Why did the Vorthak spare them? What made humans different? His computer chimed softly. A new message had arrived on the emergency communication channel. Wu frowned. Nothing should be coming through at this hour. The message was strange. It wasn't text or voice. Instead, it was a series of chemical formulas and frequency patterns. The computer marked it as coming from an unknown source about 30 miles north of their base. "Dr. Kim," Wu said into his communicator, "I need you in the lab." Dr. Kim Hyun was there, language expert. She could speak 12 different alien languages and had spent years studying how different species communicated. If anyone could make sense of this message, it would be her. Kim arrived 20 minutes later wearing a robe over her pajamas. Her hair was messy from sleep. "This better be important, Wu," she said with a yawn. "Look at this." He showed her the strange message on his screen. Kim's tired expression changed immediately. She leaned closer to the display. "These aren't random patterns," she said. "This is some kind of chemical communication system, like how ants leave scent trails, but much more complex. Can you translate it?" "Maybe. Give me a few hours." Kim worked through the rest of the night. She used the base's chemical analysis computer to break down each pattern. Slowly, she began to see connections between the chemicals and their frequencies. "It's like a language made of smells," she explained to Wu as the morning sun rose. "Each chemical combination means something different, but the grammar is completely alien." "What does the message say?" Kim pointed to her translation notes. "I can only get pieces of it, but I think it's some kind of warning, or maybe a story being passed down." She read from her notes. "The two legs who walk among flame, who drink poison for joy, who laugh when death comes calling." Wu felt a chill run down his spine. Two legs. That could mean humans. "There's more," Kim continued. "They call humans something that translates roughly to Sulmora. I think it means the ones who should not be, or the forbidden ones." "Who sent this message?" Kim checked her equipment readings. The chemical signature suggests it came from a Vorthak, but not just any Vorthak. Based on the complexity of the language patterns, this came from an old one. Very old. That afternoon, the research team gathered in the main conference room. Kim had spent all morning working on the translation. She looked exhausted but excited. "I've made a breakthrough," she announced. "The message isn't just communication, it's more like genetic memory." "What do you mean?" asked Dr. Park Meena. "Vorthak pass information through their bloodlines," Kim explained. "Important experiences get coded into their DNA and passed to their children. It's like having your ancestors' memories stored in your brain." Lee Jun raised his hand. "So this message is from a Vorthak ancestor?" "Exactly. And it's about humans." Kim activated the main display. Her translation appeared on the screen. "Remember, the two legs of the burning world. They do not die as others die, they do not fear as others fear. When cornered, they become fire. When wounded, they become fury. The young ones must know. These are not prey. These are the Sulmora, the ones who should not be hunted." The room went silent. "There's more," Kim said. She brought up another section of the translation. "They consume what kills others and call it pleasure. They walk into flame and call it warmth. They face death and make sounds of joy. Their blood carries the scent of endings. Stay away from the Sulmora. This is the wisdom of the old hunt." Choi Bin, their security officer, leaned forward. "This sounds like they've met humans before, long before we made official contact with any alien species." "That's impossible," Park Meena said. "Human space travel only began 300 years ago. We have records of every colony ship and exploration mission." "Do we?" asked Han Sol quietly. "What about the early expansion period? Weren't there some colonies that disappeared?" Wu was already pulling up historical records on his tablet. There were 17 colony ships that launched during the first wave of expansion. Only 14 made it to their destinations. What happened to the other 3? Official records say they were lost to mechanical failures or navigation errors, but Wu paused as he read through the files. One of them was called New Shanghai. It was supposed to establish a colony in the outer territories. Where in the outer territories? Kim asked. Wu checked the coordinates. His face went pale. About 200 light-years from here, in what we now call Vorthak space. The next morning brought an unpleasant surprise. Choi Bin found strange objects arranged around the perimeter of their base. They looked like some kind of primitive art made from bones and carved stones. "Commander, you need to see this," he called over the communicator. The entire team gathered outside the main building. 12 different arrangements of bones and stones were placed in a perfect circle around their base. Each arrangement was about 50 meters from their building, right at the edge of where the Vorthak usually stopped approaching. Kim knelt down to examine one of the arrangements. The bones looked like they came from different alien species. The stones had symbols carved into them. "It's another message," she said. "But this one is physical instead of chemical." "What does it say?" Park Mina asked. Kim studied the symbols carefully. I think these are boundary markers, like warning signs. Warning us away? No," Kim said slowly. "Warning others away from us." She pointed to the carved symbols. "This pattern keeps repeating. It's the same symbol they used in the chemical message for Sulmora, the forbidden ones." Wu felt another chill. "They're not trying to scare us. They're trying to protect other Vorthak from us." "That's insane," Li Jun said. "We're the ones who should be scared of them." But as Wu looked at the carefully placed bone arrangements, he realized something important. Each marker was exactly the same distance from their base. The placement was precise, mathematical. This wasn't random, it was deliberate. "They're treating us like a dangerous contamination zone," he said quietly. "Like we're something that might spread." That evening, Kim received another chemical message. This one was shorter, but more urgent. "The young ones do not remember. They come too close to the burning ones. Tell them the old truth. These 2 legs are not food. They are poison that walks. They are death that laughs. Mark the boundaries. Keep the young away." Kim looked up from her translation notes. "I think we're dealing with a Vorthak elder who's trying to warn younger Vorthak about humans, but the young ones don't have the genetic memory yet." "So some Vorthak know to avoid us, but others don't?" Wu asked. "It looks that way." Park Mina stood up from her chair. "We need to find out what happened at New Shanghai. If humans encountered Vorthak 200 years ago, there might be records we don't know about." "How do we access classified historical files?" Han Sol asked. "We don't," Park Mina said. "We contact Earth directly and request a priority investigation. If Vorthak have genetic memories about humans, then something big happened during first contact. Something big enough to terrify the galaxy's apex predators." Wu looked out the window at the bone markers surrounding their base. In the distance, he could see heat signatures moving through the fog. More Vorthak were gathering in the area, but they all stayed outside the marked boundary. "What if we don't want to know?" he asked quietly. "What do you mean?" "What if the reason Vorthak avoid us is something we don't want to remember about ourselves?" The room went quiet. Outside, something howled in the distance. It sounded like a Vorthak call, but there was something different about it, something that might have been fear. Kim began packing up her translation equipment. "I'm going to keep working on these messages. There's something else hidden in the chemical patterns. Something about a place they call the Burning World where 2 legs would not die." "New Shanghai," Wu said. "Maybe. But I get the feeling that whatever happened there, it changed both species forever." As night fell over Kepler 442b, the bone markers around the human base seemed to glow softly in the moonlight. Beyond them, dark shapes moved through the fog, always watching, never approaching. The galaxy's most feared predators were afraid, and tomorrow, the humans would begin to learn why. Han Sol had been digging through computer files for 18 hours straight. His eyes were red and tired, but he couldn't stop. The mystery of New Shanghai was buried somewhere in Earth's data archives, and he was going to find it. "Anything yet?" asked Kang Wu, bringing Han a cup of coffee. "Maybe," Han replied, not looking away from his screen. I found something strange in the colonial administration files. Look at this. The display showed a list of colony ships from 200 years ago. Most had detailed records, crew lists, cargo manifests, regular progress reports. But New Shanghai was different. See how all the other colonies have thousands of files? Han pointed to the screen. New Shanghai only has 12 files, and they're all marked as classified level 9. What's classification level 9? Wu asked. The highest security level, usually reserved for weapons research or alien contact protocols. Han opened one of the files. Most of the text was blacked out, but a few words were visible. Unprecedented. Casualties. Biological warfare. Survivors exhibit extreme. This doesn't look like a mechanical failure, Wu said. No, it doesn't. Han opened another file. This one had a date stamp and a single line of text. Colony New Shanghai, all communication lost. Investigation team dispatched. Do not attempt rescue. Do not attempt rescue. Wu read the line again. That's not standard protocol. Han pulled up colonial emergency procedures. You're right. Standard protocol says to send multiple rescue teams if a colony goes silent. But for New Shanghai, they sent one investigation team and then nothing. What happened to the investigation team? That's what I'm trying to find out. Dr. Park Mina stood in the communication room, waiting for her call to Earth to connect. Getting priority access to classified archives required approval from the highest levels of human government. She had spent all morning explaining their situation to various officials. Commander Park, came a voice through the speaker. This is Director Yang from Colonial History Department. I understand you're requesting access to New Shanghai files. That's correct, Director. We have evidence that humans encountered Vorthak long before official first contact. There was a long pause. Commander, those files are classified for good reasons. Are you certain you want to see them? Our research team's safety may depend on understanding what happened at New Shanghai. Another pause. Very well. I'm transmitting the files now. But Commander, these records are disturbing. Make sure your team is prepared. The connection ended. A few minutes later, Han's computer chimed with incoming data. Got them, Han announced to the team gathered around his workstation. The first file that opened was a video message. The timestamp showed it was recorded 200 years ago. A tired-looking man in a colonial uniform appeared on screen. This is Captain Yun Day of the colony ship New Shanghai, he said. We've been under siege for 6 months. The creatures, we call them shadow hunters. They're unlike anything in our databases. Dr. Kim Hyun leaned closer to the screen. Shadow hunters. That must be what they called Vorthak. Captain Yoon continued. They attacked 3 days after we landed. We thought they were just large predators, but they're intelligent. They use tactics, they plan attacks, and they don't stop coming. The video showed scenes from the colony. Prefabricated buildings were torn apart. Bodies lay scattered in the streets, but something was wrong with the picture. Wait, said Li Jun. Go back. Look at that building. Han replayed the section. One of the buildings was on fire, but colonists were running toward it, not away from it. Why are they running into the fire? Choi Bin asked. The next video file answered that question. It was recorded by engineer Cha Min, one of the colonists. Day 127 of the siege, Cha said into the camera. His face was covered in dirt and blood. We've learned something important about the shadow hunters. They don't like fire, not just afraid of it. Fire actually hurts them somehow. Behind Cha, other colonists were building what looked like flamethrowers from fuel tanks and welding equipment, so we're bringing the fire to them, Cha continued. He was smiling, but it wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had been pushed too far. The video cut to scenes of colonists attacking Vorthak with improvised fire weapons. The aliens screamed and retreated, but they kept coming back with larger numbers. This is insane, whispered Park Mina. They're fighting back against Vorthak. Keep watching, Han said grimly. The next series of files showed the siege getting worse. The Vorthak numbers grew from dozens to hundreds, then thousands. but the humans kept fighting. Video. Logs from Dr. Song-ah, the colony medical officer, showed the horrifying reality of the situation. Day 156, she reported while treating wounded colonists. We're running out of medical supplies. I've started making combat stimulants from industrial chemicals. They're poisonous, but they keep people fighting even when they should be dead. The camera showed colonists with terrible injuries still manning defensive positions. Some had lost limbs but continued fighting. Others were clearly dying but refused to stop shooting. They're not acting like normal humans, said Dr. Kim. This is like berserker rage. It gets worse, Han warned. A file marked personal. Log, Captain Yoon Day 178 opened automatically. The shadow hunters broke through our eastern wall today, Yoon said. His voice was calm, but his hands shook. They killed 30 colonists in the first hour. We should have surrendered. Any sane species would have surrendered. He paused, looking directly at the camera. But we're not sane anymore. Maybe we never were. Today I watched Engineer Cha laugh while he set fire to a fuel depot. He knew it would kill him, but he also knew it would take 50 shadow hunters with him. He died laughing. The video showed the aftermath of the explosion. The fuel depot was gone, along with a large section of the colony. Vorthak bodies were scattered everywhere. 67 shadow hunters confirmed dead from Cha's sacrifice, Yoon continued. The others are retreating. For the first time in 6 months, they're backing away from us. The final video files were the hardest to watch. By day 180, only 43 colonists remained alive. But their tactics had become something beyond desperate. Dr. Song appeared in one video, her medical coat stained with blood. We've run out of food, she reported matter-of-factly. But we won't give the shadow hunters the satisfaction of watching us starve. Today we started processing our own dead. The camera showed what she meant. The colonists weren't eating their dead. They were turning them into weapons. Body parts were being loaded into projectile launchers. Human blood was being concentrated into chemical weapons. This is biological warfare, Song explained. We've learned that human body chemistry is toxic to the shadow hunters. Our blood makes them sick. Our dead can still fight. Lee Jun turned, away from the screen. This is horrible. But effective, Choi Bin said quietly. Look at the Vorthak casualty reports. Han pulled up a tactical summary. The numbers were staggering. The Vorthak had started the siege with over 3,000 warriors. By day 180, fewer than 200 remained. 43 humans killed almost 3,000 Vorthak, Han said in disbelief. The last video file was timestamped day 183, final entry. Captain Yoon appeared on screen one last time. He looked like a ghost, thin, pale, with wild eyes. This is our final transmission, he said. 17 of us are still alive. The shadow hunters have stopped attacking. They're just watching us now. From a distance, he held up a container filled with dark liquid. This is concentrated human blood mixed with industrial toxins. Dr. Song calls it essence of humanity. One drop can poison a shadow hunter for days. We've been spreading it around our perimeter. Yoon looked directly into the camera. If anyone receives this message, understand what happened here. We didn't defeat the shadow hunters through superior weapons or tactics. We defeated them by being human, by refusing to die properly, by being so stubborn and crazy that even apex predators decided we weren't worth hunting. The video ended with Yoon walking toward the colony's center, where the surviving humans had built what looked like a funeral pyre. They're going to burn themselves alive, Dr. Kim whispered. No, said Wu, understanding finally. They're going to make sure the Vorthak remember them forever. The screen went black. The last data entry from New Shanghai was a simple text message. Colony terminated. All personnel deceased. Area marked as biohazard zone. Do not approach. The research team sat in silence for a long time after the files ended. Now we know, Park Mina said finally. The Vorthak don't avoid us because we're strong. They avoid us because we're terrifying. 200 years ago, 43 humans turned themselves into a biological weapon rather than surrender. Wu said. They poisoned an entire Vorthak army and burned themselves alive just to make a point. What point? Asked Li Jun. That humans don't die the way other species die. We die fighting, and we make sure our deaths hurt our enemies as much as possible. Han was still staring at the final casualty reports. The Vorthak genetic memory isn't about fear of human strength. It's about fear of human madness. Outside their research station, the bone markers still stood in their perfect circle. But now the team understood what they really meant. They weren't warnings to keep humans contained, they were reminders. Dr. Onari arrived from Earth 3 days after the new Shanghai files were discovered. She was a small woman with quick movements and sharp eyes. Her specialty was biochemistry, the study of how different chemicals affected living beings. Came as soon as I got your message, she told Dr. Park Mina as they walked through the research station. The Colonial Authority is very interested in your findings about Vorthak behavior. What did they tell you? Park Mina asked. Nothing. They just said you needed a biochemist urgently and gave me a ship. Nari looked around the base. But I can already smell something interesting. What do you mean? Nari stopped walking and sniffed the air. Human scent markers. Very strong. You have 12 people living here? That's right. The chemical signature should be much weaker with only 12 people. Nari pulled out a small device and pointed it at the air. Your base is putting out pheromones like you have 50 people living here. Kang Wu joined them in the hallway. Dr. Nari, I'm the one who contacted Earth about the Vorthak behavior. Ah, the xenobiologist. Tell me exactly what you've observed. Wu explained everything. The Vorthak avoiding their base, the crash site, incident, the genetic memory messages, and the new Shanghai discovery. Nari listened carefully, taking notes on her tablet. When Wu finished, she was quiet for a long moment. I need to run some tests, she said finally. Can you get me samples of local Vorthak tissue? That might be dangerous, Park Mina warned. Not fresh samples, old ones, shed skin, claw fragments, anything they've left behind. Choi Bin, their security officer, stepped forward. I can get those. We've found Vorthak traces all around the area. Good. I also need to analyze the chemical composition of human sweat, breath, and blood from everyone on this base. Why? Asked Dr. Kim Hyun. Because I think you're all walking biological weapons, and you don't even know it. Nari worked through the night in the research lab. She had converted half the room into a makeshift chemistry station. Bottles of chemicals and scanning equipment covered every surface. By morning, she had results. Gather everyone, she told Wu. They need to see this. The entire research team assembled in the main conference room. Nari activated the wall display and showed them a complex chart full of chemical formulas. I've made some discoveries about human biochemistry that explain everything, she began. But I have to warn you, some of this is disturbing. She pointed to the first section of the chart. Let's start with human sweat. The average human produces about 1 liter of sweat per day. Most species see this as simple cooling system, but look at the chemical breakdown. The display showed dozens of different compounds. Many had names like methylbutanoic acid and trimethylamine. 17 of these compounds are classified as toxic irritants by the Galactic Health Organization, Nari explained. 4 more are used as non-lethal weapons by military forces. Li Jun raised his hand. Are you saying our sweat is poisonous? To humans? No. But to most alien species? Yes. Especially to Vorthak. Nari brought up another chart. I tested Vorthak tissue samples against human sweat compounds. The reaction was immediate and severe. The display showed microscopic images of Vorthak cells being exposed to human sweat. The alien cells turned black and died within minutes. Human sweat doesn't just smell bad to Vorthak, Nari continued. It's literally toxic to them. Being near a sweating human is like being near a chemical weapon. But that's just sweat, said Han Sol. What about other things? I'm glad you asked. Nari switched to a new section. Human breath contains over 400 different chemical compounds. 63 of these are toxic to Vorthak nervous systems, showed them more test results. Carbon dioxide, acetone, methanol, all normal parts of human breath, all poisonous to Vorthak. Dr. Kim looked confused. Then how did the Vorthak at New Shanghai get close enough to attack the colonists? Good question. The answer is in the combat footage from New Shanghai. Nari pulled up video clips from the historical files. Watch carefully. The videos showed Vorthak attacking the human colonists, but in every scene, the aliens moved quickly and didn't stay close to humans for long. See how they hit and run? They never stayed near the humans for more than a few seconds. Even while attacking, they were being poisoned by human body chemistry. Wu was beginning to understand. So when the colonists started using concentrated human blood as a weapon, they were basically making nerve gas, Nari finished. But there's more. Nari brought up a new display showing brain scan images. This is where it gets really interesting. I ran psychological profiles on everyone at this base. Do you know what I found? She pointed to colored areas on the brain scans. Humans have unusually active fear suppression centers in their brains. Most species have strong flight responses when facing danger. But humans? Humans have brain chemistry that actually gets stronger under stress. What does that mean? Asked Parkmina. It means when other species get scared, they run away or freeze up. When humans get scared, they get angry. And angry humans release even more toxic chemicals. Nari showed them chemical readings from the crash site incident. I analyzed the area where you encountered the Vorthak 3 days ago. The ground is still contaminated with human stress pheromones. The readings showed dangerous levels of various compounds in the soil. When Li Jun was bleeding and scared, his body was producing chemicals that would be lethal to most alien species. The Vorthak could smell death coming from a wounded human. Li Jun looked at his bandaged arm. I was a walking poison bomb? Exactly. And that's not even the worst part. Nari pulled up research data from various human colonies. I contacted other research stations and had them run the same tests. Every human settlement in known space is putting out chemical signatures that register as extreme biohazard to alien sensors. All of them? Wu asked. Every single one. Humans don't just sweat poison, we breathe poison, we bleed poison. And when we get emotional, we become even more poisonous. She showed them a galactic map with human colonies marked in red. From an alien perspective, humans are a plague species. We spread toxic chemicals wherever we go, we refuse to die when attacked, and we get more dangerous when we're hurt. Researcher Lim Tae, who had been quiet during the presentation, finally spoke up. Dr. Nari, you said this was disturbing, but it sounds like humans have natural advantages. That's one way to look at it, Nari replied. But consider this from the Vorthak perspective. She brought up tactical analysis data. Vorthak are apex predators. They've evolved to hunt efficiently and with minimal risk. Their entire hunting strategy is based on quick kills and overwhelming force. And humans break that strategy, Wu said, understanding. Completely. Humans can't be killed quickly because we fight back even when dying. We can't be overwhelmed because we get more dangerous when cornered. And we can't be approached safely because we're constantly releasing toxic chemicals. Nari showed them the New Shanghai casualty analysis again. The colonists didn't win through superior tactics or weapons. They won because human biology turns us into the worst possible prey for any predator species. We're not just hard to hunt, Choi Bin said slowly. We're dangerous to hunt. Exactly. Every predator species learns a simple rule. Don't hunt prey. That might kill you. Humans violate that rule completely. Nari pulled up one final chart showing chemical analysis of the bone markers around their base. The Vorthak warning markers aren't just about staying away from humans. They're warnings about contamination. The chemicals we release get into the soil, the air, even the local plant life. She pointed to readings from plants near the human base. The vegetation around this research station now produces compounds that are mildly toxic to Vorthak. We're literally poisoning the environment just by living here. Field biologist Bei Sun, who had been studying local wildlife, added her own observations. I've noticed that young Vorthak behave differently than adults around human areas, she said. Adult Vorthak avoid us completely, but juveniles sometimes come closer before running away. That fits the genetic memory theory. Nari explained. Adult Vorthak have inherited memories about how dangerous humans are, but young ones have to learn through experience. What kind of experience? Bay asked. Getting sick. Young Vorthak that get too close to humans probably experience nausea, headaches, respiratory problems, all from breathing our chemical output. Nari showed them biological surveys from other human worlds. This pattern exists everywhere humans have settled. Vorthak populations avoid human areas completely. Other predator species show similar behavior. We're not just avoided by Vorthak, Wu realized. We're avoided by everything. Almost everything, Nari corrected. Some species seem immune to human chemical output. Others actually benefit from it. But apex predators? They all stay away. She closed her presentation with a simple summary slide. Humans are walking biological weapons. We don't choose to be dangerous, we just are. Our normal body functions produce chemicals that most aliens find toxic. Our stress responses make us more poisonous instead of weaker. And our refusal to die properly means that hunting us is never worth the risk. The room was quiet as everyone absorbed this information. 2 weeks after Dr. Onari's discoveries, Ambassador Kwok In arrived at the research station with a full diplomatic team. Word about human biochemistry had reached the highest levels of government, and everyone wanted answers. The Galactic Council is demanding an explanation, Kwok told the assembled research team. 3 different alien species have filed formal complaints about human colonies near their space. What kind of complaints? Asked Dr. Park Mina. Environmental contamination, biological warfare, creating toxic waste zones. Kwok pulled up a holographic display showing the galactic map. Look at this. The map showed human space as red zones surrounded by empty buffer areas. No alien settlements existed within 50 light-years of any human colony. We thought other species just preferred different types of planets, Kwok continued. But now we know the truth. They're avoiding us because we're poisoning everything around us. Kang Wu stepped forward. Ambassador, we need to tell them about the Vorthak genetic memories. Other species need to understand why apex predators avoid us. That's exactly what we're going to do. The Galactic Council has called an emergency session. They want our research team to present your findings. Admiral Roki, who had arrived with the ambassador, looked skeptical. Are we sure we want to reveal this information? It could cause panic across the galaxy. Admiral, said Dr. Nari, they already know something is wrong. Half the galaxy thinks humans are planning some kind of biological attack. We need to explain that this is just how we are. Just how we are, Admiral Rowe repeated. Do you realize how that sounds? The Galactic Council meeting was held on Harmony Station, a massive space platform in neutral territory. Representatives from 47 different species gathered in the Great Assembly Hall. Wu had never seen so many different types of aliens in one place. Some looked like giant insects. Others were made of living crystal. A few seemed to be floating. Clouds of gas held together by energy fields. But he noticed something important. Every alien representative sat as far from the human delegation as possible. Notice the seating arrangement, whispered Dr. Kim Hyun. They've put us in an isolated section. Ambassador Kwok stood up to address the council. Honored representatives, we are here to discuss recent discoveries about human biology and its effects on galactic wildlife. A tall, blue-skinned alien raised one of its forearms. Ambassador Kwok, our species has documented environmental changes near human colonies. Predator populations have collapsed. Native species show signs of chemical poisoning. What is your explanation? That explanation requires some background, Kwok replied. Dr. Kang Wu, please present your findings. Wu approached the speaking platform nervously. The translation devices around the room hummed as they prepared to convert his words into dozens of different languages. Honored Council, Wu began. We have discovered that the galaxy's apex predators, specifically the Vorthak, actively avoid hunting humans due to genetic memories from a historical encounter. A ripple of surprised sounds echoed through the assembly. Several aliens started talking at once. The council leader, a being that looked like a living tree, raised a branch for silence. Please continue, Dr. Wu. Wu activated the holographic display and showed the bone markers found around their research station. These are Vorthak warning signs. They translate roughly to stay away from the poisonous ones. He brought up the chemical analysis data. We have learned that normal human biological functions produce compounds that are toxic to most alien species. How toxic? Asked a representative that looked like a giant butterfly. Dr. Nari joined Wu at the platform. Lethally toxic in many cases. Human sweat contains 17 compounds classified as biological weapons. Human breath releases chemicals that damage alien nervous systems. Human blood is essentially concentrated poison to species like the Vorthak. The assembly erupted in shocked conversations. Some aliens stood up and moved even further from the human section. Are you saying humans are a biological weapon species? Demanded a rock-like being. No, Admiral Rowe said firmly, standing up. We're saying humans evolved differently. What is normal and harmless for us happens to be dangerous for other species. But you must have known this, insisted the butterfly, alien. Your military must have studied these effects. Admiral Rowe looked uncomfortable. Until 2 weeks ago, we had no idea our biology affected other species this way. We thought predators avoided us because we fight back effectively. You fight back? The tree-being council leader sounded puzzled. Most species flee from apex predators. Not humans, Wu said. He brought up video footage from the New Shanghai incident. 200 years ago, a human colony was attacked by over 3,000 Vorthak. The humans refused to surrender. The video showed scenes of human colonists fighting with improvised weapons and chemical warfare made from their own bodies. 43 humans killed nearly 3,000 Vorthak using biological weapons created from their own dead, Wu explained. This event was encoded into Vorthak genetic memory as a warning about hunting humans. Several alien representatives were now backing toward the exits. A new voice spoke from the rear of the assembly. It was deep and rumbling, with undertones that made everyone uncomfortable. I am Elder Vorthka, speaking for the Vorthak Collective. Every being in the assembly turned to look. A massive Vorthak had entered the hall, accompanied by what looked like diplomatic guards. This was the first time a Vorthak had ever attended a Galactic Council meeting. The humans speak truth, Elder Vorthka continued in broken universal language. Their kind carries the scent of endings. Their blood sings death songs. Their breath whispers poison. The Elder Vorthak moved closer to the speaking platform, but stopped about 30 feet away from the humans. Long memory tells us, do not hunt the two legs who walk with fire. They do not die as prey should die. They become more dangerous when wounded. They turn their own bodies into weapons. Elder Vorthka gestured toward the human delegation with one massive claw. This species breaks all hunting laws. They should fear apex hunters, but they laugh at death. They should run when cornered, but they attack. They should die when killed, but they keep fighting. What are you saying? Asked the council leader. Humans are not prey species. They are not predator species. They are something else, something that makes even the strongest hunters choose to hunt elsewhere. Dr. Kim raised her hand. Elder Vorthka, can you tell us what your people call humans in your language? The Vorthak elder made a sound like grinding metal mixed with a deep growl. The translation devices struggled for a moment before producing words. Sulmorathek, the poison ones who should not exist, the death-bringers who laugh at ending. The revelation caused immediate chaos in galactic politics. Within hours of the council meeting, 12 different species requested emergency relocation of their colonies away from human space. They're treating us like a containment zone, Admiral Rowe told the human delegation as they prepared to return to Earth. Can you blame them? Asked Dr. Nari. From their perspective, we're a species that accidentally produces biological weapons and refuses to die when attacked by apex predators. Ambassador Kwok was already dealing with diplomatic fallout. The Zentari Union wants to establish a 50-light-year buffer zone around all human territory. The Crystal Collective is demanding that humans undergo biological modification to reduce our chemical output. That's not possible, Nari said. You can't change millions of years of human evolution. Then what do we do? Quack asked. General Park J., who had been quiet during most of the discussions, finally spoke up. We do what humans have always done. We adapt. What do you mean? The galaxy is afraid of us, but they're also curious about us. Look at today's meeting. They wanted answers, not war. Park gestured toward the space station around them. We use this to our advantage. How? We become the species that other species call when they have predator problems. 6 months later, the first human exclusion zone was officially established around Earth and its colonies. But instead of being a prison, it became something unexpected, a service. The Kalari Republic was the first to request help. A Vorthak super PAC had invaded their home system and was hunting their population to extinction. We cannot fight them. The Kalari ambassador told General Park, but perhaps your people don't need to fight them, Park replied. We just need to exist near them. The human solution was simple and effective. A single human research vessel entered Kalari space and began broadcasting recordings of human voices, human breathing, and concentrated human pheromones. The Vorthak PAC fled the system within 3 days. Word spread quickly. The Rigelian Mining Consortium hired humans to pest control dangerous predators from their asteroid operations. The Agricultural Worlds Alliance requested human colonies near their farming planets to keep wildlife populations manageable. We've become the galaxy's exterminators, Dr. C.O. Young observed from her new position as head of the Xenopsychology Department. Not through violence, but through existing. Her final report to the Galactic Council summarized humanity's new role.